Hey guys, so this is obviously a very vulnerable video to put on the internet, but the reason I decided to make this was to show other people that they are not alone if they're going through this kind of heartbreak. I've always heard of people going through breakups, but I've never been through one myself until now, so I guess I never fully understood that kind of pain until it happened to me. And now that I know what it can be like, I just hope that I can help at least one person through the heaviness that you might have on your heart. For me, journaling has by far been one of the best tools to help me feel a little bit better during this time, which I'll get more into after this intro, but also just seeing other people online going through something similar has been really helpful for me. So that's also kind of what inspired me to make this video. I also just wanted to ask to please not leave any sort of hate in the comments, especially towards him. This is just the way things are now. I won't be sharing too much of the details for the sake of my own privacy as well as his, but in sum, we were together for over a year and now we're broken up. He was my first boyfriend, first love, so do with that what you will. I've also decided that some of the other videos that he's been in on my channel are going to stay up for now. I'm not sure if I'll keep it that way or not. It's just a little hard because he's kind of woven throughout some vlogs. However, that being said, please don't go back and comment negative things on those videos either at any point in the future, whether we're healing or past this like stage. It's still like not fun to look back on comments pointing out what used to be. Although that chapter of my life is now over, I don't look back and regret it, nor do I want to view it with negativity. It's just a part of my past now, and I'm choosing to use it to grow. And lastly, I just wanted to give a reminder that you never know what's going on in somebody's life off of social media. It really is so easy to fake a smile and or just not include certain things. What you see really is just a fraction of somebody's life. I wanted to be transparent with you all and showing that my life is not perfect at all, even if it may seem like it sometimes, but I also wanted to respect my own privacy, and I hope you all can respect that. So anyway, this is the video, and I'll be like popping in and narrating certain things, especially like in the beginning of the video, because at first I was just recording things for myself since I document everything, but I was recording those things without the intention of like making a video out of it. So about halfway through the video it turns more into a vlog. Anyway, please view this kindly, and I hope if you are going through anything similar that it can be of some help to you in any way, whether it be making you feel less alone, giving you a little bit of advice, or showing you a way that you can journal throughout such a hard time, even if it's not a breakup. So I journaled immediately after it happened. Like immediately. The first thing I did was grab my journal. I let out whatever was on my mind, all of the angry, sad, and hopeless feelings. I did not hold back. And I made a very, very long list of all of the things I wish I could say to him, which was really helpful. I so badly wanted to call him back or text him, but instead I redirected those feelings into my journal. I stayed up really late that night writing, and honestly, getting that all out was probably the only reason I was able to get some sleep that night. I tend to externalize my feelings, and so writing it down on paper was really, really helpful to just get it out and put those thoughts and feelings onto something tangible. It just helped make the weight feel a little bit less heavy in the moment. I think for the first week I was very much in denial. Not that I didn't believe it or that it didn't hurt as badly as it did, but I think it just hadn't really hit me yet that this was going to be my new reality. I was in what I call protect myself mode. My heart was at its most vulnerable point, and I honestly felt like I was the only one fighting for it. So the weight of everything hadn't fully set in yet, simply just because of the shock of the pain. And a part of me was still just convinced that it was a nightmare and not reality. A couple days in, I decided to take myself out to lunch, and I just ate some food and journaled and reflected on how I was feeling. It was really scary spending time by myself, especially in a public place like that, but it was honestly nice to get out of my room and just write. In a way, since no one knew me, it felt a little bit easier to work through some of those emotions emotions while keeping them under control. And despite all of the many breakdowns that I was having, I was really doing my best to do things for myself each day in between those hard moments. I got ice cream and french fries with my brothers at McDonald's. I drove up to visit a couple friends for brunch, and then I journaled about that brunch at my sister's field hockey game later that night. It was not easy at all. I was pretty much just on like this numb autopilot, and also again in that like protect myself mode where I wasn't fully feeling everything, but I knew that doing things for myself would prevent me from getting to a lower point than I was already at. But despite those efforts off of the bat, life had some other plans for me. My dad just tested positive for COVID, and I am also feeling sick. I'm gonna take a COVID test. This is what it looks like. It says it should take 15 minutes. Oh, I hate this. Oh, I hate this. 1, 2, 3. 15 minutes later, and I tested positive. There's 2 lines. This is my first time having COVID, and quite possibly one of the worst times to have it. In the middle of a breakup. Oh, I think I'm just gonna go journal. That's all I can do. Having COVID on top of heartbreak is a combination that I do not recommend in the slightest. It had felt like I had taken one small step forward with all of the efforts I had been making, and then went 5 giant steps backwards with a whole entire marathon ahead of me. My motivation was at an all-time low. I didn't really film at all during this time because I got hit pretty hard with COVID, just because my immune system was already so low with where I was at emotionally and how little I had been eating at the time. Thankfully, my vaccines are up to date, so it didn't hit me nearly as hard as it might have, but it still was not fun. During an already lonely time of feeling broken, I felt more isolated than I had ever felt. I truly felt like I was on my own, and if I'm being honest, that week held some of my darkest moments. I felt emotionally undersupported, and I couldn't even leave my house to take care of myself like I had been trying to do because I now had to quarantine. I wasn't eating, and it felt just impossible to get out of bed, 1 because I was exhausted from being sick, and 2 because I was exhausted from crying so much and just being heartbroken. Every single day my routine was just to journal and cry and sleep and cry and journal some more and cry again and then sleep. That's all I did. It was just a big cycle of that. Journaling definitely got me through that time, and one thing I wanted to mention is that I didn't put any restrictions on myself on what to write or how to write it. I was pretty much just brain dumping anything and everything onto the page just to attempt to get it off of my heart. I let my tears fall onto the page. I wrote really big and didn't follow along the lines or worry about my handwriting in the slightest. I'd underline things and scribble things when I was feeling really emotionally charged, and in a way that just felt so freeing to let that pain out of my body and be able to express that hurt and pain and anger and sadness in a healthy way that isn't hurting anyone else or myself. Once my fever broke from COVID, I had yet another emotional journal entry, and I decided to put on some comfy clothes and journal outside to get some vitamin D, since it is proven to help make you happier, and at that point I was pretty desperate. I didn't really have it in me to write any words, so instead I filled up the next page with flowers. They were literally just blobs of color that I mindlessly drew, and then I added some little leaves to it. Nothing crazy at all. And then in the middle I wrote a reminder that it takes time to grow. And honestly, with how much I had been writing, it was pretty therapeutic to just not have to think and not put my feelings into words. But I still did. I still journaled all the time. Every day, because I know it helps so much with understanding your feelings and tracking your healing process and just overall feeling better. But even with all of that, I still had my really hard days. I still felt hopeless and alone, and everything just felt unfair and unbearable. And so one day, after a very emotional journal entry, I decided to fill up the next page with some positive affirmations. I'm writing positive affirmations for myself right now, because sometimes it feels like I'm the only one that's gonna remind myself of those things. And so even though some of it is hard to say, I'm trying to remind myself. I'm such a mess.
That's not a positive affirmation.
These are what I have so far for my positive affirmations. It's a mess, but it's okay. I am strong. I'm going to be okay. I trust myself to get through this, even if I do it on my own. I don't need anyone to complete me. I'm a good person. I'm worthy of love. Just because I don't feel loved, it doesn't mean I don't deserve it. I am beautiful even when I don't feel like it. I am enough for myself, and that is what matters. I do not need to apologize for who I am, but I'm still thinking to finish out the rest. This is really hard. It's hard to find the balance between processing emotions and feeling those feelings and not letting it take over your life, you know? Maybe that's what my next affirmation will be. My feelings are valid, but they do not define who I am.
That was surprisingly pretty helpful. If I'm being honest, I always thought it was a little bit elementary to write out positive affirmations while you're feeling sad. It's very easy to do it when you're feeling good about yourself and just being like, wow, I'm so awesome. But when you're sad, it is not the easiest thing to do. But it did give me a little bit more self-reassurance and confidence in the moment, and it was surprisingly pretty empowering, even if it was just temporary. It was really hard though to feel like I was my only support system, so I actually decided to text some of my friends if they could check in on me here and there. That was actually a really difficult thing for me to do because I didn't want to feel like a burden on anybody or to bother anyone with my negativity. And if I'm being honest, part of me just wished that people would care without me having to ask, which is honestly a flawed mindset because you have to communicate those things instead of expecting people to just read your mind, since everybody's different. I knew that it would be good to advocate for myself in that way, and the few people that I did reach out to were all very supportive and sweet about it. I FaceTimed with one of my good friends last night, and I was talking with her about potentially making this video, and I think I'm going to. And I also think that having a project like that will help me kind of redirect my emotions into something good that could potentially help other people. I'm breaking out like crazy. I pick at my skin, so that doesn't help, and everything has just been very messy in my life. But yeah, it was just really good talking to her, just talking to somebody, you know, and just getting my mind off of everything for the first time in a while. Like, yes, I'm still in bed, but I am not crying in bed, you know. It's been hard to get out of bed, but it's also been hard to not cry all the time. And it's gonna happen again. I'm gonna keep crying. But right now I'm not, and that is a milestone worth celebrating. It can be really hard to be vulnerable with others, but it honestly made me feel less alone, and having written about my feelings already made it a lot easier to communicate to them. And trust me, reaching out for help was so worth it in the end, even if it's someone that you haven't talked to in a while. I reached out to a high school friend that I literally hadn't talked to in years, and I am so glad I did. So from there, I had mostly decided that I wanted to film this video, so I was just kind of filming it in case I ended up deciding to post it. So for the remainder of the video, it's pretty much like a vlog style, and then I'll pop back in the outro at the end. So as with any breakup, there's obviously a lot of really hard days and a lot of hard moments, but I really am trying to take advantage of the times that I am not bawling my eyes out so that I can try to have like as many little forward steps as I can, and I really am trying to do that in my journal as well. I think it's important to document the hard moments, all of those raw emotions, but it's also important to document the good and to remember that and focus on that and have that written down so that you can flip back through it and see that even in your darkest moments you can still find something good. And sometimes that feels impossible when you're in the middle of having those dark moments, but like right now I feel okay enough to focus on some good. So I thought I would just like kind of fill a page with things that I'm proud of myself for today, even just like the little things like getting out of bed right now or changing into a tank top. So I just wrote this out at the top and drew a little flower, and then I am starting to add some things just like randomly on the page of things that I am proud of myself for, because I am really trying to celebrate the little things instead of focusing on all of the really big sad things. And again, I'm taking advantage of this like not bawling my eyes out state, like this neutral state that I'm in right now. Whenever I'm crying, like that just feels impossible. Today's my first day back at work. I took a lot of time off, partially because of COVID and partially because of lots of emotions. I definitely don't feel ready, I guess, to go back to work, but I also know that it'll be good for me. I really think that getting into like more of a routine and like back into the swing of things will help me feel more like myself. It was really hard to get out of bed this morning, and this is like the first time in I don't even know how long that I've gotten out of bed before 1 p.m. It's like 9 right now. But I scheduled myself to work the entire week this week, and I think it'll help me feel a lot better. I have never been through this kind of pain. It hurts so bad. It's like, I don't know. It's just so crazy because love really is a drug. It's an addiction, and so when it gets taken away, it's like such a big withdrawal, you know? You physically are hurting, like something is missing, like your heart has been ripped out of your chest. It's just a lot to take on, especially on your own. I've noticed kind of a pattern in my journaling that on the left page I have been writing a lot of intense emotions, and then I try to like balance it out with writing about something more positive on the right side, like, you know, how I was proud of myself, or another thing I've shown was the flowers that I drew. I think it could be really good for me to try to keep up that pattern, to like feel out my emotions on the left side and then try to have the right side of the page be like the right feelings. Even if it's just doodling things or writing about like something fun I have planned for myself, or I don't know. I'm just trying my best to take care of myself. I really want to call up a friend right now, but I think I'm going to journal and get all this out. I feel like I'm gonna have a panic attack. I feel like I can't breathe. I just got back from work. I don't remember the last time I've updated this video. If I'm being honest, I just kind of forgot about it, but I just was scrolling through Instagram and I saw this little quote like picture thing, and I'll put it up here. And it got me thinking, our heart during hard times is kind of like a piece of fruit that isn't ripe. It is hardened and kind of sour and just like not the nicest, but over time it will ripen. You will heal, and that can be like a really not fun waiting game, you know, when you're waiting for a piece of fruit to ripen. You're just like, oh, I just want it to be sweet. And so then I was like, well, there are ways that you can ripen a fruit faster. You can put a banana next to it and it'll ripen faster, or I think like if you put it in like a brown bag, I think that is a way of ripening fruits faster. And to me, I was kind of thinking, I was like, that's like how you choose to handle a situation like this. I could heal faster if I chose to work through my feelings instead of running away from them. If I chose to treat myself right, or do like things like journaling, which has been really beneficial to me, or if I go and practice other self-care activities, that would help ripen the fruit faster. That would help heal faster. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do to ripen a fruit faster or to heal faster, it's still gonna take that time. I did my makeup for the first time in a long time, and I actually feel just so much better. I also put on an outfit. I have this cute little skirt. But yeah, I just feel like more confident in myself. I've really just been letting myself go recently, and it feels really good, and like it's such a confidence booster to make myself look a little bit more put together. It's such a beautiful day out, so I think I'm gonna hang outside for a little bit and get some vitamin D. Everything about this experience is a roller coaster. One day I'm happy, one day I'm crying. I'm trying not to cry. It's so weird because I'm able to find my happiness, but yet I'm still just kind of mourning what is lost. I haven't lost my self-worth. I never lost who I was in the relationship, so I don't have to go out and like find myself, although I am trying my best to focus on like myself and things to do for me. But for the most part, I feel good with who I am. It's just a lot to process, letting go of what was. It's just like a weird transition phase that I've never navigated before. I really need to force myself to let go of what's now gone for the sake of my happiness and moving on from this. I need to accept that it's gone now. I worked out for the first time today in literally months, so that was like a really big win for me, and I'm just really proud of myself for that. It was like the first day in a long time that I felt like the whole day I felt good and proud of myself, and it just was overall a good day. And I feel really pretty right now. I love my earrings. I feel like that's also something to be celebrated. I don't know. I think I'm on the right path, and that's just really encouraging. I was journaling just now, and I just wanted to share a little bit of what I wrote. So I said, looking back, I'm honestly kind of glad that I was dealt such a shitty hand with getting COVID on top of a breakup. I would not have told you that in the moment, but the silver lining to it was that I was forced to sit by myself and process my emotions. I couldn't just jump into distractions and avoid my feelings. They demanded to be felt, and boy, did I feel them. And now I feel like I can move forward and take care of myself without feeling like I've neglected or invalidated my emotions. And I know that even on my bad days from here on out, I now know what I need to do to tend to those emotions. And one of those ways is through journaling, because it has definitely helped keep me sane throughout this entire process. And it's honestly just very encouraging to be able to like flip through the entire journey that I've had and just see how much growth I have made since then. And I still have growing to do. But you know what? I'm just proud of myself for how far I've come thus far. It is really great to feel like yourself again. I'm now at a point where I feel okay. I'm not completely healed. I'm sure there's gonna be bad days ahead of me, but I trust myself. I know that I've been journaling throughout this entire process and writing about my emotions and really working through them no matter how hard it got, which is really hard, especially at the beginning. But the sooner you address those feelings and work through them, the quicker you'll be able to heal. And even then, healing will not happen overnight. It still has its own slow timeline, but I know everyone says it does get easier. One of the things about me is that I so desperately want to feel in control of what's happening to me. And at the end of the day, there is so much beyond all of us that we can't have a say over whatsoever. We can't decide and we can't control. Things like the hand we were dealt in life, who cares for you and how they show it, or if they show it, or even getting COVID on top of a breakup. We cannot control any of those things, and that fucking hurts. But what we can control is the things within our control. And those things are how you treat yourself, how you choose to grow from this, things that you can do for you, and choosing to let go. Despite anything that has happened to us in our past, we can only be okay if we allow ourselves to be okay. What we believe for ourselves can come true in time if we want it to, because your mindset is so powerful in shaping your reality. You have to let yourself grieve, let yourself feel, let yourself hurt. Know that healing will not be linear in the slightest. You're going to have setbacks, and that's okay. But write about it all. Reach out to someone. Find those teeny tiny baby steps that you can do for yourself. And eventually you will be okay. What's meant for you will come in time. And in the meantime, you can do what's best for you. Because after all, change is inevitable, but transformation is by conscious choice.